Hey there, my name is Cole Adams, and you are watching the best college basketball podcast out there that covers the entire sport of college basketball, brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers. Now, here are your hosts, Sam Fetterman and Jonathan Lidskin.
Season 6, episode 15 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Lidskin. Jonathan, how you doing this evening?
Dude, I don't know what that nap did to you, but you are a specimen right now.
Jonathan, would you like to introduce our guest?
Excited to talk some Dayton.
Jonathan, would you like to introduce our guest?
I would love to. Tyler Cronin joining us to discuss Dayton today. Tyler is part of the 3-Bid League pod. He also came on last fall when we did our A10 previews. Tyler, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, although I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up local 937 celebrity Cole Adams.
Yeah.
He is reaching that celebrity status at this point.
Yeah, Cole Adams actually does not feel comfortable going on a preview at this point in time. So he's been
relegated. You know what we say about that? Watch and learn.
Hey, you guys haven't gotten to Wright State yet in the summer, I assume. So he's got time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Wright State guy. You can't even bring him on to talk about Dayton at this point.
But
Raider Nation. Anyway, Dayton basketball 2025-2026. Lose a lot. But for me, the ceiling is, and the best result for the Dayton Flyers is if Amel Atong is this team's best player. 7-footer from France, has a little bit of stretching the floor in his game, really good rim protection, really good rebounding. Was very efficient last year. Had some really big games, but none that really jumped out. I think that if he breaks out in a big way, then Dayton could be really dangerous at the top of the A10.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I would just say that any chance of Dayton hitting its ceiling means that at least on paper, Javon Bennett cannot be their best player. And I think it's entirely possible that even on the best versions of the team that he is anyway. But to people not watching, they're going to need to look at the box scores and see that probably Latong, maybe Jordan Durkak, maybe Deshane Montgomery, but probably Latong emerges as a star. I mean, you say he didn't have like kind of the big signature game. He had a lot of individual moments though, and there were these just incredible highlights, like the North Carolina game in Maui, coming in and hitting 3 threes. He had 4 or 5 like Miles Rubin level monster blocks throughout A10 play. So he had the plays. I don't think he ever was comfortable in the kind of inconsistent minutes role that he played throughout the year. But the biggest thing for me, game one, I want to see when he walks out onto the court, did he tack on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle like Obi Toppin did after his first year at Dayton, like Deron Holmes did after his first year? He's got to be a lot stronger.
What do you think is the next evolution, though, for his game?
I think it's the physicality. He is such a skilled player. He has great hands. You can't teach 7-1. But when he got into the heat of conference play and was going up against the most physical bigs in the A10, he just was not strong enough. And that's why they had to keep playing Zed Key and Isaac Jack. Even though Latong was clearly the superior player, Dayton couldn't really feed him in the post in A10 play. It worked early on in the year. He's got to get stronger. He's got to be able to battle with like a Robbie Avila when push comes to shove, like a Justice Ajabo. If St. Joe's in Dayton's A10 tournament loss, Latong got shoved around by him.
Jonathan, on Latong?
Yeah, pretty much what Tyler said. You know, comes in last year 7'1", 230, according to Ken Palm's website. If he puts on muscle and can be a real force in the post offensively, that's a new level for this team, because we already know that his length is a factor when it comes to blocking shots. He's already a good rebounder. You mentioned Sam, he can step out and shoot it a little, but I think developing that offensive game and evolving that offensive game is really where Dayton can take that jump as a team.
Yeah, he didn't take a ton of jumpers in the mid range. It was a lot of just the low post or the three. I think there would be an interesting element if he can kind of maybe work with the ball in his hands a little bit more, because I think he's very skilled. But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, 15 for a guy with a 15% assist rate at that size as a freshman, I could look at Bart Torvik. I can't imagine there were very many players in the country that had numbers like he did.
Yeah, and while you're looking at that, I would throw in on the mid-range thing. I'm just not sure that's ever going to be a part of Anthony Grant's offense for him. They're so reliant on having a big who can score in the low post. And I'm sure as we get into the rest of the roster, people are going to quickly realize that it's kind of Latong or nothing this year. And so
Yeah,
if he's
I'm
not
not
providing that
necessarily
top of the
saying
key floor spacing, I just don't think they're going to want him to take those shots.
I'm not even necessarily saying like be a mid-range scorer. I'm just like operate a little bit from the mid-range. Don't like make yourself a little more versatile than what you do as a spot up shooter and as a post threat. I think that giving him space to operate at the elbow at 18 feet would be something that is beneficial, because I think he's skilled enough to make it work as a passer.
Yeah, I mean, he had a minimal dribble drive game last year. So maybe throwing him in different spots would help with that.
That's what I was getting into. But yeah, Latong was the only freshman over 7 foot with an assist rate over 15 last year in college basketball. It was just him. He's the only one.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, what was Cooper, 6'11"?
6'9". Just plays like he's 7'7".
Yeah, you're right. I thought he was taller all year.
Well, if he were taller, people would like him more.
Let's not go down this road. This is not a Duke pod, or else I could go on for 25 minutes about Cooper Flag.
We've already done the Duke pod.
Yeah, check that out, everyone listening, if you haven't already.
Yeah, if you care.
Sam,
I
can
do
we talk about this backcourt?
Yeah, Jonathan, because I love this backcourt.
Yeah, I mean, they have some real difference makers here. Like, yeah, we mentioned Javon Bennett coming back. Like, what intrigues me is, you have two guys in Deshane Montgomery and Jordan Durkak that are moving down from high majors after transferring up from low majors. So I think like the A10 might be a league for these two, where like they can really find their groove, and it might be like their level. Like, obviously, Deshane had some stuff going on with his waiver at Georgia last year. Durkak never really finds his footing at Rutgers.
Nobody found their footing at Rutgers,
including the guy who has not worked out for an NBA team apparently.
Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid-Stealers NBA Draft Preview Podcast, Monday the 23rd, 7 p.m. with Logan Adams. Live draft show Thursday night.
But like, Durkak was the NEC Player of the Year. He's a really good defender. And then Montgomery, all you need to do is listen to the pods from last year where we talked about that Georgia team where Sam said he thought he was going to be their best player. And, when Sam Fetterman is saying that about a former MAC guy, he's legit. So, but yeah, you combine those two with Bennett, and then you bring in Adam Jai off the bench. And Sam, I'll leave that to you, because obviously he played in your league last year.
Jai is a guy that I think pairs super well with Bennett, because Bennett at 5'10", Jai has a bigger guard, really good ball handler, really good at attacking the basket, has a little bit of New York City wiggle to his game that gives them an element that I don't think Bennett brings on the offensive side of the ball, and just something that I don't think they have, that high-level dribble drive, ball handling guy. I mean, obviously Montgomery is good on the drive, but it's more straight line drives. Durkak kind of the same way. But Bennett and Jai, I think, will form a good duo. Obviously, Bennett does a little bit more defensively. Jai kind of still needs to lock in on that end. I think there were moments where he was a little where he wasn't locked in, but he had some really good moments on that end. And Montgomery, as a super athletic player that can play on the baseline, that can play on the wing, I think that'll give Dayton something that works when something that works off Latong, off of guys that can pass. You have Bennett, Durkak, and Latong, three guys that can all pass, and Montgomery, who can be one of the best cutting guards in this conference. And then Durkak is a guy who plays with high feel, gets to the foul line, is physical, is heady, really good defensively. A bunch of guys coming from Merrimack, and I think they have Merrimack on the schedule opening night, if I'm not wrong. Or no,
I do not know.
Kenesha, not Merrimack. But a couple of Merrimack guys on the roster, those guys have been coached in Javon and Jordan. Jai coming from Iona, Montgomery coming from Georgia. You got also in that backcourt, Jerron McKee from St. Joe's Prep.
I'm a fan. I like him. He can score the basketball.
He's not going to play this year, I'm pretty sure.
No, he's not.
This backcourt's just too loaded. But I think you never know with the portal. But if he sticks around, valuable.
Sorry, we just had to clap.
The high school of our graphic designer.
Anyone else on anything on this backcourt?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out Montgomery, who they very, very clearly need him to get back to that 41% three-point shooter that he was as a freshman at Mount St. Mary's, because this has the chance to be a wildly inconsistent shooting team. They need him and Bennett to just kind of give them that 2-for-5 night every night. But then I look at the Georgia stats, and it's so bizarre, where he's playing good minutes for an NCAA tournament team. He is their usage rate leader. He got to the line at a good rate, but he couldn't make shots from the floor at all. The KenPom comparison list, number 4 is Jalen Carey, the final year of the David Cox era at Rhode Island, who was a bad player if you look at his stats, and just an abject, awful team killer if you were watching him in person.
Look, I'm just gonna say it. Deshane Montgomery was bad last year.
Yeah, because all the Durkak stuff with Rutgers, I look at the fact that was one of the great legendary team rec teams of the last 25 years in college basketball. And when he played big minutes, like that Michigan State game where he drops 20 points, it seems like he actually produced when he had some idea of what his role was going to be. Montgomery was the opposite, where he just stunk on a good team that seemed like they kind of knew what they wanted to do with him.
It didn't work because he never got into a rhythm after the academic suspension.
He killed it in his 3 non-con games. I had just assumed he got hurt, but he wasn't able to ease his way in. But at the same time, his freshman year, 4 games against power conference competition, 17.5 points a game, shot awesome. 29 of 49 from the field. Yeah, he was awesome. At his best against the best opponents that Mount St. Mary's played.
He was incredible in those games.
So Sam,
I think he's a really talented player. I've watched a lot of him. Super long wingspan, 6'4", legit 6'4", with if I had to guess, a 6'8", 6'9" wingspan. His hands can be everywhere. I just think that maybe Georgia didn't really have the right role for him.
So the reason I don't want to even go into NJI much is because I just fully defer to you, Sam. You are the great expert of the Metro. Is he an above-average A10 starter now, or is there something he would need to work on to get to that place? Because people seem to think like he's coming off the bench. I imagine Grant is just going to play him and Bennett together. That's what he wants to do.
I think the shot needs to be a little more consistent, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt you.
Like for people
Like,
thinking that he's
so
the most
talented.
expensive guy on this
so
roster, I
Jai
imagine
is
he's
so-
playing 30 to 35 minutes next year.
Jai is incredibly talented. But
Yeah.
my question is, who's he playing over?
So we talked about this on our show. I think it was our last episode. I just keep looking at the roster, and I think that this team's starting 4 guards by like Thanksgiving.
You don't
Because
think Malcolm Thomas gets the job done?
that's the one way that I'm wrong. Is if Malcolm Thomas turns out to be this dogged defender that everyone says he was out of high school, clearly a great athlete. He apparently won Villanova's in-house dunk contest last year, but even the comments from his own coach last year were that he was an inconsistent offensive player. And if he just never gets it going on that end, I think they might just start 4 guards.
God, who else would have won Villanova's in-house dunk contest last year?
I admittedly watched maybe 15 minutes of, or no, because I watched Joe's and Virginia smack them around last year.
Jordan Dumont would probably be the one.
Yeah, I mean that's not super tough competition over there.
Yeah.
It's still a Big East school.
Jonathan, what do you think of Malcolm Thomas?
So, not a guy that I watched a ton of in high school. Did not play a single minute last year for Villanova. But like one of the reasons that I didn't see like a ton of him is because like there's nothing that I'd seen that like would indicate that he would like be ready to play right away. Like he's pretty athletic and like the tools are kind of there. I think he can be a solid defensive piece for this team, but like kind of like Tyler said, like I wouldn't expect him to be an offensive force or even really a good offensive player in this league quite yet.
All right.
Who knows? A year of development can do wonders for anyone. But I was like back on Jai. Like Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but like he was put in kind of a somewhat tough spot last year. He's a freshman being asked to play a high usage role. Actually, passed the ball extremely well. But like I would assume with a veteran on the roster like Bennett at his position, you wouldn't want to put him in this like super high usage role again.
My problem is I don't know like what Jai is off the ball. He's been an on-ball guy his whole life. Cardinal Hayes, that was a place where he had the ball a lot. I mean, that was also a team that just had a lot of guards in general.
Yeah.
But he had the ball a lot for them too. So I wonder what he looks like off the ball. I think he's really good on the ball, though. Maybe cut down a little bit on the turnovers.
Hey, Bennett's kind of both. Like he was brought in to be a backup point guard / occasional off-ball guy. Malachi Smith gets hurt. He has to basically play point guard 40 minutes a game. And then last year he was playing off the ball with Malachi and Posh Alexander.
Which I still have no idea how that was supposed to work.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, I think we all got a lot of things wrong about Anthony Grant's love for point guards, and he was going to figure it out, and he just didn't. But I imagine that when the two of them share the court, the ball's probably going to be in NJ's hands more often than Bennett's, unless it turns out that NJ's just not as good as we think. But
I think Jai's really good. Like this is a player that, as I've mentioned, is one of the better ball handlers in the conference last year. Had the shot when he needed it. He made some tough shots, made some big plays, had the ball in his hands in big spots, had the game winner against Sacred Heart in the last game of the season to give Iona the bye. Had a big second half against Manhattan in the first round of the MAC tournament. Had a big game against Quinnipiac in the second round. I think that in the semifinal. I think that Jai is absolutely a player that got a lot better over the course of the season. Obviously, had a great first game, but got a lot better over the course of the season in terms of his consistency.
I have one more real thing here, and it's kind of a question for Tyler. So this is now 2 straight seasons, I believe, where like Dayton has looked substantially better in non-con than at times in conference. Do you think there has been a reason or like consistent theme for that, and how do they adjust? Or is it just like, we're playing the same teams every year in conference? Like Grant's been in this league long enough that like coaches, like they have the scout already.
Well, 2 years ago, they had 6 guys and they started getting hit with injuries in January. And then they closed A10 play awful that year because Bennett got hurt and Kobe Brea was playing point guard. So that one's kind of an aberration to me. I think even the best Grant teams, even the 2020 team, they were just so much better than everyone in the A10, but they have a tendency to fall asleep 3-4 times throughout the conference schedule. Last year, and this is a concern that I kind of have for this team, they had a lot of good floor spacers who weren't necessarily good shooters. So guys that you had to respect, and like Latong was the perfect example of this. You had to respect him outside the arc, but he was liable to just give you an 0 for 6, maybe even 3 games in a row at various stretches. And you go back and look at the best games, the North Carolina game, the UConn game, the Marquette game. They were on fire from 3. They were getting contributions from Malachi Smith turned into a dead eye. Enoch Cheeks was the best shooter in the A10. And what we learned throughout the year was that Bennett was the only guy who was going to consistently make shots game in, game out. And the bottom started to fall out in various times in January. And I look at this year's roster and I feel like they could be at risk of the same thing happening. That, let's say, against Florida State or Cincinnati or Marquette, maybe they shoot 60% from 3 and they run one of those teams off the floor. And we think they're an at-large lock, and then all of a sudden they're playing at Duquesne on a freezing cold January Tuesday night, and they shoot 1 for 17 as a team. And I could see it happening again.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a legitimate concern. And like, it's interesting because I feel like Anthony Grant has not gotten, the most respect in the world from Dayton fans over the last couple of seasons, but like obviously, has accomplished a lot there. Was unfortunately robbed of the Obi Toppin 2020 team that was set to be a 1 seed, and you can't really point to like the what if, because obviously there's no actual result to go off of.
Jonathan, you want to take us home?
Yeah. Let's do it. If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about Villanova dunk contest, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, you came to the right place. This has been Season 6, Episode 15 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers, and we'll see you next time.